Hi everyone, this is Hao, and if you remember last time I created a video about how to create a logical volume-based guest domain in RT-Xen, and today I'm gonna show you how to create a file-based domain in RT-Xen. So first, as usual, you create a file with all zeros, use dd, the input is 0 and the output is the image file we want to create. And the block size is 1 gigabyte and count is 10. It means that our image would be 10 gigabytes. And after it's finished, we use loop setup to mount it on one of our loop device in order to create a file system on it. Okay, now we use make file system ext4 in order to create a file system on this loop one. Okay, so now it's done. Writing super blocks. Okay, so now it's done. Now we're ready to create the now we're ready to use the Ubuntu netboot to boot into our newly created images to install the Ubuntu inside our guest domain. So now let's look at our config file. We change the image file to the right name, and the kernel and the RAM disk is just like that last time we create a logical volume based guest domain. So it's a Ubuntu netboot. Now we can boot it, use xl create -c ubuntu.cfg. Okay, so now it's booting up, and the next step is to install our system. During the installation, it will be like a disk partition or set the username. It really should makes no difference than the last video when we create a logical volume based domain, so let's skip it. Okay, so assume we just installed our newly created guest domain. Now we mount it to a place in order to get the bootable VM Linux and the initial RAM disk image we want to use, which is this two. And the real file is inside the boot folder. Okay, is this two. So we copy these two files into a proper place in order to use it later for our boot up. Yeah, remember here we are not using pygrub to boot our domain again, because for some unknown reason I didn't manage to do it. So if any one of you know how to do it with pygrub, just let me know by leaving a message under this video. Thank you very much. So we need this grub.cfg in order to configure our boot. Here we have all the files ready for boot up our newly installed domain. Let's see. So this initial RAM disk image 3.2.0 and this VM Linux, yeah, this is all we want to do. This is all we need to boot up our domain. So let's edit our config file again. So sorry, this reline is no longer useful. We're gonna change it to our newly copied file here. I just read it from the command line. Oh, sorry about that. Read it from the command line here. Root generic. Okay, these two lines. So the first line is RAM disk. Initial no RAM disk here. And the next one is kernel. And remember, we have to add another extra parameter here in order to boot our domain properly, which is inside of the grub.cfg we just copied out from the image we just installed. So this line is actually what we need. Let's see. We just oops. Okay, so this line is what we need, and we copied it to the extra and delete all the just left it to the root equals to UUID here, and this line is no longer useful. Okay, this is all we need to boot our domain. Now let's try it. xl create -c the file we just create, study. Okay. And all the message here, and that's it. The domain successfully booted. Okay, so this is how you create a file-based guest domain in RT-Xen. Thank you very much.